I will receive whatever I request. Thank you all so much for joining me today in studying A Course in Miracles, Workbook for Students. We're reading from the original edition on our Workbook for Students, Lesson 339, here on Tuesday, December the 5th of 2023. I will receive whatever I request. I will receive whatever I request. No one desires pain, but he can think that pain is pleasure. No one would avoid his happiness, but he can think that joy is painful, threatening, and dangerous. Everyone will receive what he requests, but he can be confused indeed about the things he wants, the state he would attain. What can he then request that he would want when he receives it? He has asked for what will frighten him and bring him suffering. Let us resolve today to ask for what we really want, and only this, that we may spend this day in fearlessness, without confusing pain with joy or fear with love. Let's not confuse fear with love or pain with joy and ask for what we do not want. I will receive whatever I request. Whatever you send out in your thoughts and your feelings and your desires is what you'll get back in exact measure. Father, this is your day. It is a day in which I would do nothing by myself, but hear your voice in everything I do, requesting only what you offer me, accepting only thoughts you share with me. I will receive whatever I request. Let's go again on that prayer. Father, this is your day. It is a day in which I would do nothing by myself. We're going to ask for God's voice to guide us and lead us. It is a day in which I would do nothing by myself, but hear your voice in everything I do, requesting only what you offer me, accepting only thoughts you share with me. I will receive whatever I request. And our associated reading, what is the ego? The ego is idolatry, the sign of limited and separated self, born in a body doomed to suffer and to end its life in death. It is the will that sees the will of God as enemy and takes a form in which it is denied. The ego is the proof that strength is weak and love is fearful. Life is really death, and what opposes God alone is true. The ego is insane. In fear it stands beyond the everywhere, apart from all, in separation from the infinite. In its insanity it thinks it has become a victor over God himself, and in its terrible autonomy it sees the will of God has been destroyed. It dreams of punishment and trembles at the figures in its dreams. Its enemies who seek to murder it before it can ensure its safety by attacking them. The Son of God is egoless. What can he know of madness and the death of God when he abides in him? What can he know of sorrow and of suffering when he lives in eternal joy? What can he know of fear and punishment, of sin and guilt, of hatred and attack, when all there is surrounding him is everlasting peace, forever conflict-free, and undisturbed in deepest silence and tranquility? To know reality is not to see the ego and its thoughts, its works, its acts, its laws, and its beliefs, its dreams, its hopes, its plans for its salvation, and the cost belief in it entails. In suffering, the price for faith in it is so immense that crucifixion of the Son of God is offered daily at its darkened shrine, and blood must flow before the altar where its sickly followers prepare to die. Yet will one lily of forgiveness change the darkness into light, the altar to illusions, to the shrine of life itself. And peace will be restored forever to the holy minds, which God created as His Son, His dwelling place, His joy, His love, completely His, completely one with Him. I will receive whatever I request. And in our, we're going to read out of the Foundation for Inner Peace's publication, Psychotherapy, Purpose, Process, and Practice. The place of religion in psychotherapy, it'll be under section 1. The process, section 2, the process of psychotherapy, and Roman numeral 2, the place of religion in psychotherapy. So we'll read that in just a moment. World Holy Days, Holidays, and Observances from holidaysandobservances.com. AFL-CIO Day. It's American Federation of Labor and Congress of Industrial Organization. And that was set up in 1955. Bathtub Party Day. Have a party in your bathtub, I guess. A good day to take a soak in your tub, huh? Colombian International Day of Reef. And I'd never really thought much about Colombia having a lot of reef, but they have got 2,800 square kilometers of coral reef in the Caribbean, right there in Colombia. International Volunteer for Economic and Social Development and International Volunteers Day, basically the same thing, celebrates volunteering to help others. Krampusnacht, which is a German holiday, Nacht means night in German, I guess. Krampusnacht is it's the half man, half goat being that comes on December the 5th, I guess, and he brings birch sticks to naughty children. A fable. A fable? Would you call that a fable or anyway, an old legend story? National Blue Jeans Day, and Levi, or been making blue jeans. I'm sure it was actually Levi back in they were first made in 1873. The riveted material denim. National Communicate with Your Kids Day. Well, might be a good day to reach out to your kids, no matter what age they are, and say hello. Send them a text or something. Or if they're at home, you ought to stay in close communication with them all the time. National Commute with Your Baby Day. Take your baby with you wherever you go today. National Sacratort Day, and Sacratort is a double chocolate layered cake, a little bit heavier cake, and it has jam between the layers, usually apricot jam, and then it's topped with a chocolate glazing. This sounds good. Let's see, Repeal of Prohibition Day. On this day in 1933, the 21st Amendment was enacted, which repealed the 18th Amendment, which was restricting the use or the sale of alcohol. World Soil Day and World Trick Shot Day, and that's maybe Globetrotters have kind of a day of trick shots that they're known for. Could also be not just basketball, but pool and billiards. World Soil Day, I wanted to tell you a little bit. The soil is made up of 3 components. Made up of actually more than that, but the bedrock breaks down over long geological ages into sand, silt, and clay. And so those are the 3 components of soil. Of course, you add the organic matter to it, the humus, to make it really rich and what's called friable or crumbly, good for your plants. And there's also water and air gases in it. But of the actual components, the gritty part in it is the sand. It's the largest parts of soil, and it's from 2 millimeters down to half a millimeter in diameter, 0.05. Well, that's actually less than half a millimeter. Half a millimeter, 0.05 millimeter. Silt is 0.05 millimeters to 0.02 millimeters, and it feels more like flour, if dry soil, the silt. And then clay, it's the small, silt is from 0.05 to 0.02 millimeters, and then clay, the smallest of all, and is 0.002 millimeters and smaller. I think I said that right on silt. It was from 0.05 to 0.002 millimeters. And a good soil I found was, and this is what you always, you have to look at your soil. If you have a lot of clay, you'll want to add silt or clay. Of course, you can always add compost, and that'll help any soil to be more productive for gardening. But of those three things, you wouldn't want to add more sand. If you already have real sandy soil, you might want to add some clay or some silt. But I found that this is a really good blend to aim for in your garden. Is 40% sand, 40% silt, and 20% clay. Anyway, and then I want to tell you about another Chapman's Canada Red Rhubarb out of Gurney's. Not Chapman's, Chipman's. Chipman's Canada Red, which is a rhubarb, and Chipman's naturally sweet, dependably cold hardy. Chipman's Canada Red Rhubarb. Simmer, boil, or bake the tall, plump, and brilliantly red, naturally sweet stalks. Nothing fades the rich color and intense flavor. Produces excellent yields, so you'll have plenty for processing. Zones 3 through 8, and you can also grow it in zones 2 with some winter protection. Okay. All right, now let's go take a look at, we're going to look at our reading out of psychotherapy. Another word for peace around the world. In southern India, the ancient language of Sanskrit, the word is Shanti. Shanti, Om, Shanti, Shanti, Om. You've heard that maybe. Om, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. The Buddhists say mind, body, and spirit. Peace to all when you say Om, Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. In the ancient language of Sanskrit, which is really a really wonderful language because of its, it takes words that have been thought deeply about. Matter of fact, I found this in the Yoga Journal. I thought it was interesting. 5 Sanskrit words that every yogi should know. An asana, which means seat, but it's used as a pose. The different poses we get into are your asanas. Namaste, which is I see the light of God in you and I honor that. And Om, the vibration of God, and the vibration in all that God created. Om. I think of it as the hum of a bee, and it pervades all the universe. That sound of the Om. And then, of course, Shanti means peace, and Yoga, which means union, which we've spoken of before. Okay, well, let's see. Now let's go look in our psychotherapy purpose, process, and practice 2.2, the place of religion and psychotherapy. And be sure to keep with you today, I will receive whatever I request. To be a teacher of God, it is not necessary to be religious or even to believe in God to any recognizable extent. It is necessary, however, to teach forgiveness rather than condemnation. There you go. Even in this, complete consistency is not required, for one who had achieved that point could teach salvation completely within an instant and without a word. Yet he who has learned all things does not need a teacher, and the healed have no need for a therapist. Relationships are still the temple of the Holy Spirit, and they will be made perfect in time and restored to eternity. 2. Formal religion has no place in psychotherapy, but it also has no real place in religion. Formal religion. In this world, there is an astonishing tendency to join contradictory words into one term without perceiving the contradiction at all. Formal religion, he says, is what he's talking about. The attempt to formalize religion is so obviously an ego attempt to recognize the irreconcilable that it hardly requires elaboration here. Religion is experience. Psychotherapy is experience. At the highest levels, they become one. Neither is truth itself, but both can lead to truth. What can be necessary to find truth which remains perfectly obvious, but to remove the seeming obstacles to true awareness? 3. No one who learns to forgive can fail to remember God. No one who fails to forgive. No one who learns to forgive can fail to remember God. Forgiveness, then, is all that need be taught because it is all that need be learned. All blocks to the remembrance of God are forms of unforgiveness and nothing else. This is never apparent to the patient and only rarely to the therapist. The world has marshaled all its forces against this one awareness, for in it lies the ending of the world and all it stands for. 4. Yet it is not the awareness of God that constitutes a reasonable goal for psychotherapy. This will come when psychotherapy is complete. For where there is forgiveness, truth must come. It would be unfair indeed if belief in God were necessary to psychotherapeutic success, nor is belief in God a really meaningful concept, for God can be but known. Belief implies that unbelief is possible, but knowledge of God has no true opposite. Not to know God is to have no knowledge, and it is to this that all unforgiveness leads. And without knowledge, one can have only belief. 5. Different teaching aids appeal to different people. Some forms of religion have nothing to do with God, and some forms of psychotherapy have nothing to do with healing. Yet if pupil and teacher join in sharing one goal, God will enter into their relationship because he has been invited to come in. In the same way, a union of purpose between patient and therapist restores the place of God to ascendance, first through Christ's vision and then through the memory of God himself. The process of psychotherapy is the return to sanity. Teacher and pupil, therapist and patient are all insane, or they would not be here. Together they can find a pathway out, for no one will find sanity alone. 6. If healing is an invitation to God to enter into his kingdom, what difference does it make how the invitation is written? Does the paper matter, or the ink, or the pen? Or is it he who writes that gives the invitation? God comes to those who would restore his world, for they have found the way to call to him. If any two are joined, he must be there. It does not matter what their purpose is. If any two are joined, he must be there. It does not matter what their purpose is, but they must share it wholly to succeed. It is impossible to share a goal not blessed by Christ, for what is unseen through his eyes is too fragmented to be meaningful. 7. As true religion heals, so must true psychotherapy be religious. But both have many forms, because no good teacher uses one approach to every pupil. On the contrary, he listens patiently to each one and lets him formulate his own curriculum, not the curriculum's goal, but how he can best reach the aim it sets for him. Perhaps the teacher does not think of God as part of teaching. Perhaps the psychotherapist does not understand that healing comes from God. They can succeed where many who believe they have found God will fail. 8. What must the teacher do to ensure learning? What must the therapist do to bring healing about? Only one thing. The same requirement salvation asks of everyone. Each one must share one goal with someone else, and in so doing, lose all sense of separate interests. Each one must share one goal with someone else, and in so doing, lose all sense of separate interests. Only by doing this is it possible to transcend the narrow boundaries the ego would impose upon the self. Only by doing this can teacher and pupil, therapist and patient, you and I, accept atonement and learn to give it as it was received. And the last paragraph, 9. And before we read that last one, let me just say that when it says here, each one must share one goal with someone else, and in so doing, lose all sense of separate interests. That he's talking about doing that on a day-to-day basis, but just as a matter of assisting you to do that, and like if you know people that you think might resonate with this message of A Course in Miracles and the way that we're sharing it, well then join up with us on January 1st. Tell them they can start listening now, but January 1st, tell them be ready, have them a book in hand. We'll be reading through the Foundation for Inner Peace's version next year. And we'll go through the whole book in a year, just like we've done this year with the original edition. Okay, and the last paragraph. Communion is impossible alone. So bring your friends. And of course, it doesn't have to be through this particular medium. It's just that I'm offering it as a help if I'm helpful. Okay. Communion is impossible alone. No one who stands apart can receive Christ's vision. It is held out to him, but he cannot hold out his hand to receive it. Let him be still and recognize his brother's need is his own. Let him be still and recognize his brother's need is his own. And let him then meet his brother's need as his and see that they are met as one, for such they are. What is religion but an aid in helping him to see that this is so? And what is psychotherapy except a help in just the same direction? It is the goal that makes these processes the same, for they are one in purpose, and thus must be one in means. Okay, and back at our lesson, I will receive whatever I request. No one desires pain, but he can think that pain is pleasure. No one would avoid his happiness, but he can think that joy is painful, threatening, and dangerous. Everyone will receive what he requests. What you send out's what you're going to receive. As you're vibrating is how you're going to get vibrated. You know how you send out an energy, a feeling. I think of it as vibration. It's going to come back to you. Send out the Om vibration. If you're not sure how to do that, you just keep studying. And you can even sing Om. Om. But he can be confused indeed about the things he wants, the state he would attain. What can he then request that he would want when he receives it? He has asked for what will frighten him and bring him suffering. Let us resolve today to ask for what we really want, and only this, that we may spend this day in fearlessness, without confusing pain with joy or fear with love. Father, this is your day. It is a day in which I would do nothing by myself but hear your voice in everything I do, requesting only what you offer me, accepting only thoughts you share with me. Okay, well, be sure to do your extended, your meditation, your practice period, morning and evening, and your hourly remembrances and thanksgiving today, saying, I will receive whatever I request. I will receive whatever I request. I will receive whatever I request. idolatry, the sign of limited and separated self, born in a body doomed to suffer and to end its life in death. The ego is insane in fear, it stands beyond the everywhere. The ego is insane in fear, it stands beyond the everywhere. Apart from all, in separation from the infinite, the Son of God is egoless. The Son of God is egoless. What can he know of sorrow and of suffering when he lives in eternal joy? What can he know of sorrow and of suffering when he lives in eternal joy? To know reality is not to see the ego and its thoughts. In suffering, the price for faith in it is so immense. The crucifixion of the Son of God is offered daily at its darkened shrine. The crucifixion of the Son of God is offered daily at its darkened shrine. Yet will one lily of forgiveness change the darkness into light, the altar to illusions, to the shrine of life itself, and peace will be restored to the holy mind, which God created as the Son, his dwelling place. His joy is love completely, is completely one with him. I will receive whatever I request. I will receive whatever I request. I will receive whatever I request. What are you requesting? I will receive whatever I request. I will receive whatever I request. Now let us go in peace, go in Shanti. Or should we say Om? I love this group of people holding hands in a big circle and saying Om. 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 Shanti. Om. Om. Shanti. Om. I will receive whatever I request. Shanti.